The wind whistles through your hair as your hand grips the rough rope on the side of the ship. From here you can look down over all of the kingdom of Brunei, stretching away in all different directions like a picnic blanket. The clouds that swoop around you part as the ship that you are sailing on sails through the sky. This is the adventure of the Windswift, and it's looking for you. So the Windswift has been in operation now for nearly a year, and our captains have faced the trials and tribulations of the Rax Drakari, a telepathic-inspired cult who were determined to perhaps bring back the dragons. They have now completed that quest, and along the way they have lost one of their captains to dark demonic forces which have sucked him away into an unknown dimension, and because of time constraints, one of our favourite characters has also had to leave the show. That means that we're looking for at least two players to join the ranks of the Windswift and to join our Paladin Blackston and our good Druid Con in an attempt to continue to save the world of Braxia from the evil forces that would seem to want to undo it. This is a call now for you to submit a character concept to us to join the crew and to participate in the weekly adventures that go on, and to then see them broadcast out onto the channel that you have supported for so long. Now, there are a few requirements and they're fairly lengthy, and I'm going to go through each and every single one of them to make sure that they're absolutely clear. The reason why we have these requirements is because, if you have noticed, over the past 3 years that Bacon Battalion has been going on, we've evolved and changed the technology in an ever increasing attempt to improve the quality. And recently we've shifted over to a new system which, when it works beautifully, and it's one that we'd like to see moving forward. So these are the requirements that you will need to have, and then at the end of the video I'll tell you how to submit a character for consideration in terms of joining the captains of the Windswift. So, requirement number 1. You need to have an HD webcam. Now, there are many HD webcams out there, and we're not going to prescribe any specific one. Although, if you do go in for a webcam, if you're going to buy a new webcam, the Logitech series of C920, 922 is a very good series to invest in, just in general. Logitech did not sponsor this. I wish they had, actually. Anyway, so you need an HD webcam and you need a good microphone. A laptop with a webcam and the laptop speaker unfortunately won't cut it. It's just too tinny. So you need to have a good microphone as well. A headset with a mic is perfectly acceptable. You also need to have a quiet room. A room that isn't likely to have people wandering around in the background. A quiet space that you can control and use for at least 5 hours is required. You need to have 5 hours of time available. We try to record at least 2 episodes of the Windswift in a single session. And each session, of course, each episode is now 2 hours long. So we need at least 4 hours to get both episodes down, and then we like to chat and socialise afterwards. So it usually takes 5 hours. You also need to fit into our time zone. Now, both Michael and Freddie in the past have made huge personal sacrifices to be on the show by signing in at 3 in the morning to play until 7 a.m. or at midnight to play until 4 a.m. Although I absolutely appreciate and admire both of them for having that kind of tenacity to be on the show, it is a major strain on them, on you if you were to try and do the same thing. So we're looking for people who can play during normal hours. The time frame that we do the recording is 6 p.m. on a Sunday, Tokyo time. Now that's generally, roughly, without daylight savings, around 10 a.m. London time. So, on the same Sunday. So if you are in that region, somewhere between London and Japan, then we would love to have you on the show. It means that you get to play during the day or during the early evening, so you're fresh, you're invigorated, and that the next day, Monday morning, is not a nightmare having not had enough sleep. That's very important to us. So those times again, 6 p.m. Tokyo time, 10 a.m. London time on a Sunday. You need to be able to commit for at least 5 months. What we try and do is record as many shows as we can and build up a buffer, so there isn't ever a week where there is no show, like this week, for example. That buffer we then can use if you need to go on holidays and that kind of thing. And we all need to take holidays from time to time. It's perfectly acceptable. But we need at least 5 months commitment so that you can fit into at least one of the adventures. We'd like you for more too. Now, the narrative style of the Windswift, if you haven't watched it, if you're just a fan of the channel and you think you might want to enjoy playing on the channel, the narrative style of the Windswift is simply story over number. So we don't cheat, we don't fudge our rolls, but we try and focus more on the story than on the mathematics. Min-maxing is, well, not something that's necessarily happening here. The characters are fallible and the dice rolls are simply there to tell the story in a better way and to adjust it and control it in a way that doesn't interfere with the main story. We are role player versus rolling player. So we're more focused on the story than on the dice, and on the story instead of the numbers. That being said, we still use the Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition rule set as much as I can remember them, much to Simon's chagrin. He often tells me, well, that rule wasn't really done that way, it's done this way, which is absolutely fine because he tells me after the show, not during the show. So we're also not looking for a rules lawyer. You need to have a sense of humour. That's part and parcel of dealing with me. You just have to laugh at my jokes. That's the bottom line. Now, that we have got through all of the technical logistics. You also, one last thing which I forget. You need to have a decent internet connection. This is for during the recording. We obviously link up via Skype or a similar program. And after each show, you have to submit the video that you recorded locally to Dropbox that I can then use it in the edit. This is about ensuring that quality that I was talking about earlier. So you need to have a decent internet connection. Video files often can range up to 8 gigs in size, 8 gigs in size that you would need to upload every Sunday evening. So that needs to not be a barrier to you at all. Okay, now all of that's out of the way. Now it's absolutely all out of the way. So how do you apply? Well, I would firstly suggest that you head on over to the Tour of Braxia video, which was the very first video, I believe, to be released on this channel. So just head through all the way back to the Tour of Braxia and watch that. That basically will explain the world of Braxia and allow you to have a sampling of what is available. You then need to write a 1 paragraph, really not more than, say, 300 or 400 words on the type of character that you think would be interesting to play from your perspective, fun to play from your perspective, and that you think others would be interested in watching as well. We've got Blackston, who's a paladin, but he's a paladin of Brax, the god who, yes, wants justice, but he also wants revenge. He believes in an eye for an eye, and so Blackston is this paladin who follows orders, is happy to execute someone. Well, maybe not happy to execute somebody, but he does execute people. We've got Con, the good doctor, almost someone diametrically opposed to the paladin. He's got to save life, not take it. But they're both bound by the order of the Histori's edict, which says if you are a dragon worshipper, you are put to death straight away, no questions asked. So it's an interesting mix of characters. What character do you think will fit into that role? We're also not looking for someone who's going to basically create Mutaru 2. Michael's character Mutaru is not gone. I will persuade him to come back to the show from time to time, timing permitting, of course, that we can catch up with Mutaru and the crazy antics of this wonderful warlock. So we're not looking for copies of what's already been on the show. Bring your own voice to the table. That's half of the fun of role-playing, isn't it? So you send this 1 paragraph to geekstable@gmail.com. That's geekstable or geekstable, however you want to pronounce it, geekstable@gmail.com. Send us that paragraph, and also please note that Once we have got all of the submissions in by next week Wednesday, on Thursday we will send out, Thursday or Friday, we will send out a list to people who have submitted saying, thank you for submitting, your character is interesting enough that we want to play. We will then schedule as many as it takes, but preferably not more than 3, once-off sessions, where I will run the game for you with your character in the Braxia setting, and hopefully either Jono or Simon will be able to join us for those sessions so that they get a sense of what it's like to play with you. We have to be realistic. Role-playing is an individual, collective sport, if you like, and you've got to like who you play with. So 1 or 2 sessions will then be run where we play with all of the people who have submitted their characters and we see which ones we like. Now, if we only get 3 submissions, it will be a very short round of testing. I'm not sure how many we're going to get. I hope that there are people interested in joining us, because we'd certainly like you to join us. So I know that this is a long list of things that needs to be done or checked or approved beforehand, but it is simply a way of preempting long-term issues that will crop up if you don't have all of the things that we've listed already. So, on that note, I do hope that you submit your character concepts, because I know that if you are a fan of the Windswift or even of just the channel on how to be a good player, then you are somebody that I want to have at my table. And I wish you the very best of luck in terms of submitting characters that are interesting. They don't have to be over the top, just interesting, and hopefully I'll be playing with you soon. So, spread the word. The Windswift is looking for 2 new captains to join our intrepid crew and to save the world of Braxia from dragons.